Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.
It's very different when actors watch content than from the general audience. Like we get ticked off on some very odd things. Even if I switch off all my acting, writing, whatever creative switches, a part of me is a storyteller, and it will immediately connect to what the director is trying to do.
Hey guys, I'm so excited for my guest on today's episode of The Bingelist, who's not only a talented actor but also a writer and a creator. And it's so great to get that perspective and understand how the shows he loves have influenced the ones that he himself has created. I'm talking, of course, about Sumeet Vyas. Hi Sumeet, and welcome to The Bingelist.
Hi. How are you doing?
Well, most of us have been busy, binge watching shows in lockdown. You've been busy making one. So your new show, Wakaalat From Home, is on Amazon Prime Video. It's one of those shows which is entirely shot at home. So what was it like making that? I mean, the logistics must have been pretty crazy.
Firstly, we were really glad that we got to do something productive during lockdown, because otherwise, we were just sitting at home watching shows and pretty much doing nothing. But yeah, the logistics were a little tricky. It took us a few days to get used to the whole setup, because we had to set up a laptop, and then we had to set up a phone to record our visual, then audio. So it was a bit of a mess. But I respect for the camera department, for sound department, for the behind the camera people went really high, because it's a lot of work. It's very tedious work.
I can imagine.
So yeah, now when I go on a shoot and if somebody takes time to set up a shot, I'm not going to lose my cool, because it takes time.
Now it sounds like you're a one-man crew now. And is lockdown a good time for writing? I imagine people have a lot more time, but are you really feeling creative when the world is in an uncertain place? So is this a good time to write and create?
I don't know about others, but I did not enjoy writing during lockdown, to be very honest. Because a part of your brain is constantly thinking about something. And also in terms of content, hopefully we will get out of what we are into. And when we do it, the stories will change. Cannot be the same stories. You cannot not have a mention of what happened to the world. It's like films after World War II could not completely forget about the fact that the world has just gone through a war. So had an influence on that, and I'm sure it is going to have influence on the stories that are about to come. It'll be before lockdown and after lockdown.
It'll definitely be very interesting to see how this changes the kind of stories that come out. But speaking of great stories, just diving straight into your list of your 5 shows, I'm really looking forward to discussing them with you, just to get your perspective as an actor, as well as a creator and a writer. I was looking for a common thread between your 5 choices, and the only thing I could think of is they're all sort of winners in their own field. They're all some of the greatest shows within their own genres. And I have to start with the one and only This Is Us. I think we could spend an entire episode talking about this. There is no show that makes you feel like that show does. It's this amazing sort of taste of humanity told through the story of this one family. But yes, why This Is Us? Why did this make your list?
What I liked the most about the show is it made you feel things without really trying very hard. It wasn't trying to make you cry on a certain point, but you just couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with love, with the kind of love that we all have for our siblings, for our family. It's quite incredible, and it's that one emotion that everybody relates to, and there's a story for all of us in that show. It was such a an old school narrative of a modern family. I really thought that this was a modern family. It had its flaws. It had its the characters had their own flaws and things that they were struggling with, but yet it was so old school and it was fantastic.
And do you have a favorite character or favorite person from the family?
I love them all, but it's very hard to choose. You cannot help but fall in love with the father, because that's the one character that appeals to everyone. That would definitely be my my favorite pick of all the characters.
And if you had to play any role from the show, would it be Jack?
It would be Jack. Yeah, I think so.
So I feel like you can do so much with him. You see him from the youngest age through so many sort of stages of his life.
Yeah, and also the choices he made on so many occasions. On the choice he made when he decided to go on a date with his now wife, his girlfriend. Think life could have taken a completely different route for him, or the time when he decided to go back to the house while the house was burning because his daughter wanted the dog so badly, and he had to do it. And that's something that that all of us have felt. I mean, I don't know about others, but I've felt all the time that I am a reasonable person, I'm practical, and I'm very, very shrewd and all of that. But when it comes to my loved ones, logic fails me, and it's portrayed in a very, very nice way. It's not portrayed in a negative sense.
Yeah, my friend has this theory that Jack basically ruined all of their lives because he's such a great father and such a great husband that when he died, he just put them through this traumatic experience, and now they're still recovering from that.
Yes, it is a little bit of an kind of character that Jack is. But yeah, it's not unachievable. We've all seen people that they're rare, and which is why we feel so bad because we want to be like them, and it's hard. It's really to be like them.
And it's one of those shows that's bursting with these unforgettable moments. It has so many just really sort of magical moments. Do you have any sort of favorites from the show?
It's very different when actors watch content than from the general audience. Like we get ticked off on some very odd things. Like I was watching the show with my wife, and I would often end up joking at moments which were not supposed to be very, very emotional. But because I could see what they were trying to do, the actors. So that sort of, and like a lot of other things work very well for me. The BGM is very, very important for me. The silences are very important for me. The dilemma that the actors are portraying is very, very important to me. And these are things that people generally tend to look over the regular audiences.
And just coming to your second pick, which I think is one of the most uniquely wonderful shows that has ever been made, which is Fleabag. There really is no experience quite like it. I don't think I've ever spent so much time as intimately with one character before. She's in your head and you're in hers. But yes, what's your relationship with Fleabag?
Just the writing of it. It's incredible writing. It's fantastic. It's fun. It's fast. It's entertaining. It's warm. And the performances, of course, everybody's done such a fantastic job. I love the father's character again. He was so good. I love the stepmother. She was so good. I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names, so I might not be able to name the and also the pace of the show. It was so nicely done. It was very short, but I think there were 20-minute episodes.
Literally 12 episodes is the entire show.
Yeah, and each episode is 20 minutes. So it's always nicer to have a story where you want more, rather than you get so much that you are done with it.
I was on this workshop recently that was conducted by a comedy writer in Hollywood, and one of the first tips she gave is do not write Fleabag, because that show has disrupted the space so much. It doesn't follow any of the conventional rules of writing. So it really is one of those shows that seems to have completely reinvented what a show can be.
And this is the thing, especially as writers, we always want to break the grammar without learning the grammar. So it's very, very important that you study the grammar. You do a couple of stories following the grammar, and then you can fly. Then you do your own thing and have your own narrative. And it doesn't always work, not to discourage anyone, but you should be ready for it. If you're trying something, then don't blame the world that, they don't understand how great an artist you are. No, you tried something new, it works sometimes, and it completely falls flat on its face sometimes. And that's fine. That's the whole part. That's the fun of it. So, but in this case, it worked, and how? So, also, and then I read up more about the show, and it was a play, and I was so fascinated to watch the play. I really wanted to watch a production of it, of how it was. It was a solo act, and yeah, I would love to see what happened and where it stemmed from. And because when you watch the show, you cannot think of this as a solo
Not at
play,
all.
as a person's narrative. So yeah, credit to the writing.
So when you're watching a show, can you switch off that the actor part of you, or are you always sort of breaking down performance and looking at the kinds of things they're doing?
I mean, I am watching it, but I'll be unfair if I say that I'm just watching it like a regular member. You know, it's impossible for me to do that. Even if I switch off all my acting, writing, whatever creative switches, a part of me is a storyteller, and it will immediately connect to what the director is trying to do.
And just coming to your third pick, which I think is one of the best Indian streaming shows that we've had so far, which is the devastatingly powerful Delhi Crime. It really was a show about sort of a very horrific incident and the messy intersection of media, justice, and politics. But it also, there was a sense of hope because it was also about the fact that there are good cops out there really doing their best. But yes, why Delhi Crime?
One is the fact that it was such a well-made show, and second, because everybody knew what happened in the incident. In fact, everybody knew more than they should have, you know, because there was so much media coverage and so much opinions, and it was just a mess. So too much information is not good, I feel. Which is why I was curious to see what are they going to show us that we don't already know, you know. And the fact that they showed the entire show from the perspective of a female cop and who was investigating the whole thing, and her relationship with her daughter, and how it was shaping up, and Rajesh Telang's character, Shipali's assistant, and he was so good in the show, and he was struggling with his own, you know, own little conflict in his life while trying to solve this case and understand how evolved and how people who have first world problems function. It was very, very beautifully done. It was it looked like it's written by people who have a deep understanding of all classes.
Yeah.
You know.
And you mentioned Shefali Shah. She's so fantastic in the show. She really, makes it and keeps it going. And you're so invested in that performance. Do you think that's one of the best things about the streaming space, that we're finally giving actors, talented actors their due? They're finally getting the roles they deserve.
Absolutely. The audience is ready to experiment. I mean, imagine 10 years back, nobody would have thought of casting Shefali Shah into a police commissioner's character and someone who's so dealing with such gory stuff. Nobody would have thought of doing that. Yeah. And the fact that we are doing it, and she is the protagonist of a show, and it is doing so well, and everybody is watching, just goes to show that there is an audience for everything. There is an audience for good content, good performances. And again, coming back to Shefali, I've always been a fan of her work. She is so good. She is, I don't know how to put it in English, but Hindi mein kehte bada maheen kaam hai unka.
How does it change when the show that you love is an Indian show, not sort of a show from the West, because these are all actors that you probably know. These are filmmakers that you're aware of. So do you just reach out to them? Do you message them? How does that change things?
I mean, it changes because, you're surrounded by people who are saying that, oh, we don't make good shows because the audience won't accept it.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't do this because, the sponsors won't back it. Oh, we don't do this because people will not understand. And I find it very, very offensive when people talk like that. And more often than not, you meet people who have this narrative. And I personally feel it stems from your incapability to dig deeper.
Yeah.
It's hard work. It's really hard work to research a topic, to try and create moments which are genuine, which are not in your face, and still be able to connect. Because to be able to do that, you'll have to be absolutely honest and truthful to the craft.
Yeah.
It's hard work. So to run away from that hard work, you always, end up blaming the audience or blaming the platforms or blaming everything else. But the fact is that that these are shows, these are made in India, and they've done so well.
Yeah.
And they're as competent as any other show you would see from Europe, or I don't know, from USA or from the UK, anywhere, So we are capable of doing these things. We are capable of consuming these kind of shows, this kind of entertainment. It's just that we are not working hard. That's the tragedy. That's what we need to work on.
But that's why I guess it's so encouraging that we do see shows like Telecrime that are proving that we are doing that, we're capable, we're talented enough, and we hope we see many more. Coming to your fourth pick, which I think is one of the most game-changing shows of the last decade. It changed how we all view TV, which is House of Cards. It's the show that launched Netflix. It's also the first show to be, the entire show was dropped together, all episodes. So it is the first binge watch that changed the way we all watch TV. And it's also just a fantastic drama, about the messy world of politics. So yes, why House of Cards?
It's incredible writing. And again, I mean, the fact that so many people across the world were able to relate with that show, which is so specific. It's specific about American politics. It's about how the American politics functions, and it's got nothing to do with how we function. Our politics is very, very different. Our political structure is different. We don't have no Democrats or Republicans. It doesn't work like that for us. And in spite of that detailing, you were able to connect with the story. That's the victory of a story, And again, performances. My goodness, it's an acting school for any actor if they're interested in just watching and learning how a scene can be dealt with. Kevin Spacey, such a fantastic actor, and I don't know how many people observed it from the first season to the second or third. Third is when he becomes the president, I think. His speech pattern has changed. So when he was a hustler, his speech pattern was slightly casual. And when he became the president, in general, his speech pattern was a little formal. It was a way that you're used to listening to presidents speaking. The first time I heard him after he became president, I felt like I was listening to an old TV recording of a US president, talking to the audience. But this is where the actors' hard work comes in, that they really spend that much time, they've invested that much time in the way they speak, the way they behave. Again, Robin Wright, what a fantastic actor. And it's just the fact that people there are willing to put their money on talent and not not gamble with because this guy or this actor did well in this show or this film, let's cast him in something which he's not fitting actually. They don't do that, and we must learn from that.
As you mentioned, Kevin Spacey has such an acclaimed performance in that show. I'm curious, how do you process something like that when a piece of art that you love is led by an artist who has since become a tainted artist, and and you find out these things? Does it mess with your relationship with the show? I guess is it individual choice when people try and separate art from artists? How do you process that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested in the work he's done as an actor. I'm interested in that's a separate conversation. I think I've always been a fan of his work. I didn't know who he was as a person, what his preferences were, or what he was doing in life, and which is why it didn't really matter to me. I was disappointed as a human being. I was really disappointed because you look up to someone and all of that. But then that would not stop me from watching, from appreciating how great an artist he is. So
I also imagine, in my head, I can imagine Indian politicians watching House of Cards and just sort of laughing, saying, "This is nothing. This is child's play. What we do is crazier." Do you think we could ever get an Indian House of Cards? Because it would be so much fun. But would that ever happen? Would we ever have the freedom to do that?
I don't think so. I think we as a society, it's not just the politicians. Obviously you can't tell a story about a politician. You can't be fully honest about them because it just they don't appreciate it. And we, being a democracy, we should be able to do it, but we can't. We can't even tell an honest story about film stars. Forget about politicians. So let's not even go there. when we as a society will learn to let people be, as a society, we just don't know how to do it. And I'm saying this is the biggest problem that we as artists face, because to be able to create art very freely, it is going to upset a few people. It is going to be, sometimes disagreeable to a lot of people. But that's just the nature of what we do. And that I think will take a few more decades for people to reach that point.
But one thing that has come apparently is true about House of Cards. It's supposed to be very accurate. So Robin Wright Penn, I read an interview where she said that she was at a fundraiser and this very senior politician came up to her and said, "I'm a fan of the show. And by the way, about 80% of what you guys do is true." And she got freaked out. She said, like, "We do some crazy stuff on that show and you're telling me that stuff is true." So clearly it is based on truth.
Yes. And honestly speaking, like when you start researching about certain topics, like I also write. So I've been working on a couple of scripts and doing some research, and truth is really stranger than fiction. What people actually end up doing is so weird and so bizarre that if I was to put it on screen, people would say, "Oh, it's too much. It's too loud. It's not true." But it is true. It is pathetic that it's true. So yeah, that's the way it is.
And just coming to your fifth and last pick, it is such a fascinating show. It is Fargo, which is based on the Coen brothers movie. And it's sort of this dark comedy about this sort of ordinary, sort of forgettable man who meets this murderer and starts getting corrupted by him. So yes, I'd love to know what's your relationship with the show. When did you discover Fargo?
Just one day. I mean, I think somebody recommended that when it had just come out that, "Oh, you must watch this show," and I started watching it, and I absolutely fell in love with the pace of the show, of how slow it was, and yet how they were able to maintain the tension. It was so tense. Like through the show, everything is so slow. It's happening. The place is cold, and people have their own space. It's like we people from Bombay, when we go to a small town, we just don't understand why is time not over. I've done everything I was supposed to do through the day, and it's just 4:00. What am I supposed to do with the rest of 6 hours? So it's just that pace of that town that was so very well done. It was such a great show. It was I loved the action on that show. It was cool, but it was new. It was novel. I loved the narrative of it. Like if I was to tell you what was common in all the 5 shows that I've chosen, is just the style of narrative is very, very different. Just the way they pace their shows is very, very different, and I get very intrigued with narratives and how different is your narrative from what we've already seen. And Fargo had a very, very unique style of narrative. Like even as writers, when we're pitching stuff and everything, and they say, "Oh, we need something like Fargo," and that goes to show that, oh, the show is really done well, because now people want that narrative, that style of narrative.
And it is, like you said, it's such an ambitious, interesting show. It's very different. It's even hard to describe its genre. It's like part thriller, part drama, dark comedy. Just as a writer and creator, does it ever frustrate you that here, I feel like in India, it's always sort of the same 3-4 genres people largely tend to sort of work in. So does it ever frustrate you that you really can't do something that's so out there like this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, the other day I was listening to this interview between A.R. Rahman and Arjit Singh. And Rahman said something so nice. He said, I feel like you're only playing around with major and minor chords. You need to explore more while making music. And that is so true for all of us, writers, actors, directors. हम लोग सिर्फ major और minor में खेल रहे हैं. We're not exploring other chords, and we need to. If we don't want the audience to run away from us, we really need to explore different narratives, different symphonies. I always make sure to watch content that is at least trying to break the norm. As media people, as people involved in the industry, I think it's our responsibility to do that. Every path-breaking thing that has happened to cinema has happened because somebody is trying to break the norm, style of narrative. when Sholay came out, when Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge came out, when Dar came out, the film, when Dil Chahta Hai came out, or when Permanent Roommates came out. But every time, I'm not saying these were all fantastic things and they were the greatest things. No, but they were things when people were sick of the tried and tested formula and they wanted to try something new, and it worked. But there were also a bunch of things that didn't work, but they needed to be appreciated and nurtured.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful to get to talk to you about your favorite shows and how they've influenced you. So thank you so much.
Hi everyone. If you've liked this video, please subscribe to Film Companion.